Hello everyone, welcome to my guide. Today I'll be telling you the top 4 skills that you need to get your first Zulrah kill. Now, if you don't want to waste 5 hours trying to get your first kill like I did, then these tips will be very helpful to you. I suggest practicing them before you try to do damage to Zulrah. I have 2 general tips for people just learning to switch. The first one would be to keep your weapon here, and your highest DPS items here and here, right? That will help you gain the most damage, because you want these to be the first ones that you click on, so that if you miss the rest of them, you'll be in a much better position to still deal a lot of damage. The second tip I have for gear switching during Zulrah is to try and switch your gear between phases. So when Zulrah goes back under the water and you're running to your next spot, that's when you want to switch your gear. Otherwise, prioritize eating if you're very low on health, especially before the Tanzanite phase where she sends out her little ones, because it's very easy to get comboed out with the combination of the Tanzanite phase and the snakelings. So I'll be continuing with the 4-way switch. So here's the zigzag pattern that I like to do. Just like that. You can try to do it in 1 tick. And I will slow it down to show you guys now how to do it, how my mouse is moving. So you can see that it's a zigzag. You could also do a box, but as I said, that's going to get harder once you have 6 and 8 to do. So now I will demonstrate the 6-way switch. I don't believe that I can get this in 1 tick, but it is possible to do. Here is the 8-way switch for Zulrah, and for any other boss. Since most of you will most likely be using a toxic blowpipe, you'll often have to do a switch, say an 8-way into a 7-way, or a 6-way into a 5-way, or a 4-way into a 3-way. So I'll show you guys how to do a switch that changes each time. You just have to remember that there's 1 extra click every other time that you switch. As you get used to that, you'll probably just do it automatically, just by muscle memory. I recommend while you're doing this that you have your potions up here so that it will always go back into the column. Otherwise, you guys can watch what happens if I try to switch out gear, right? See that? The item went over here, and that's just going to be really confusing for you when you're trying to do that zigzag, and one of your items is over here. So you need to keep some items here. So now I will demonstrate 5-way into a 6-way switch. Skill number 2 that you guys need to master is tick eating. First, click your food, and then click your Karam one after. If you do it in the opposite order, tick eating does not work. So this is how you heal a high amount of hit points in 1 tick. And this will help you not get comboed out by Zulrah's Tanzanite phase. It's as easy as that. Let me go ahead and demonstrate that a couple more times for you guys. Okay, so do you see what I did there? Do you see why it didn't work a few times? That is because I ate too soon, or I tried to tick eat too soon after my last tick eat, so one of the food didn't go through. The shark there. So that's a way to mess up tick eating. So if you don't understand why you may have messed it up one time, that's an important distinction to make, is that you need to wait like a tick before you try to tick eat again. Now, I will move on to my next tip. This is where you're going to want to memorize Zulrah's phases before you start DPSing Zulrah. So what I would want you guys to do is actually just go in there with high defense gear and practice running around to each spot during Zulrah's rotations. You can have, I'll link a website below that you can have open next to you where you just click through and have Zulrah's rotations. Hi guys, so I was filming the next portion and I realized I forgot to mention something important about gear switching. It's much easier the smaller your screen is to switch your gear because your mouse has to move less far to switch your gear. It has to move a much shorter distance, right? Your mouse cursor. So it's actually a lot easier to switch your gear when your screen is shrunk down, and that's why I recommend for you guys to have your client be half of your screen and then your rotations be the other half of the screen. Okay guys, so this is how I recommend you have your screen set up. I am using the RuneLite client, so that's what you'll see. Just as a reminder, I'm not going over optimal gear setups or the tiles that you need to mark or anything of that nature. That's covered in other guides. I'm going over the skills that you're going to need in order to complete Zulrah successfully. So as you can see here, I'm using very high defense gear. It doesn't matter really what the melee defense bonus is. It just matters what the magic and range defense is. And this is pretty high. Again, the magic defense is harder to get defensive gear for. Just downgrade where you see fit or where you need to. An added tip, the Serpentine helmet will serve as anti-venom when charged with scales, but if you don't have access to this, it's fine just to bring an anti-venom potion instead, and that's why I have that in my inventory to show you guys. And personally, this is just a preference, but I like to use the game client expands to fill the window option in the options to have it set up this way. But some people, of course, like to use the game client is set to a fixed size, and that's why you guys see the difference between this inventory and this inventory. Now, you will see me use the F keys, which I've actually switched to the number keys because I have fairly small hands and it's really taxing on my wrist to use the F keys themselves. So I do recommend you have your F keys set up before you go into Zulrah. That is very important, and I guess you can call that tip 4.5. Just make sure that you can use keys on your keyboard. Let me dismiss this guy. But just make sure that you can use keys on your keyboard to switch between your inventory and your prayer screens. Whichever way that you have it set up best for you is what you should use. I like to use my pointer finger for prayer and my middle finger for inventory, but everyone likes to do a different thing. And again, I like to use the number keys using a RuneLite plugin here. It's called key remapping. As you can see, you can edit the plugin configuration. And I have remapped my F keys to the number keys so that it's easier for my hand to use this. So this is another extra tip for you guys. If you have a smaller hand like me, then this is perfect for you. So now we're going to fire right on into a kill. Have my guide open here beside me. He just spits out the clouds here, which you will be venomed if you move into them, and you will still take damage even if you have your anti-venom, so it looks like she's going to be doing one of her magma phases. Make sure you dodge out of the way. You can mark these specific tiles if you want to, but again, this guide is not explaining the tile marking. So, as you can see, she is now at her Tanzanite phase. He will attack you with both mage and range, but you do still want to pray magic here. And we can see that she has moved over here in her normal phase, where she is going to range you. still not attacking, we're just using this. We have Piety on, in case we have low defense. I don't, but in case we do. Now we see that she's going to mage us over here. I'm just gonna eat up, because there's no need for me to risk any hit points, since I have a full indent of food and I'm just learning the phases. Nice and easy. She spits out her poison clouds. These little snakelings are being killed by my recoil, which is a loaded ring of suffering imbued. So you don't actually need to move on this magma phase. Because as you can see, the magma Zulrah is just going to try to hit over here. That's why you stay on this tile. And now you can see that it's going to be range. Moved a little too far. And again, I was just getting hit by those guys over there. You don't technically need to go that far. Back to mage. So we're down here. And we know that Zulrah's JAD phase is going to be range. We're going to be moving down here. Range first, JAD phase. Now, we are going to slow down the JAD phase. Zulrah will always alternate back and forth between magic and ranged. She will start with the attack on the left side of the dot in the guide that I linked in the description. An easy way to remember when to switch is to wait until after she has spit out her attack. The hit has already registered before the hit spot appears and before the damage is taken away from your hit points. This is true of every NPC in the game. So when you're doing a JAD phase on any monster, make sure you remember to switch to the correct prayer before the monster attacks you. Otherwise, it is already too late and you will be hit. And then we're going to need to teleport out because we have learned that phase. At the end of each phase, you're going to run back to the start, right after the JAD phase ends. It's very easy to get hit by the poison clouds there, so don't worry if you are a little bit too slow. You can just keep going back and doing that for every single phase. So, as you can see, you can simply do this for every phase until you feel that you've memorized it, and then you can move on to a full kill. This has been my before the kill guide for Zulrah. I hope you guys have enjoyed, and keep on practicing, and I'm sure you'll get it in no time. So just remember to practice your gear switches, know how to tick eat. Remember to use your F keys during the kill, because it's going to be extremely hard for you if you're using your mouse to do this, because you're going to have to be switching and doing all other kinds of stuff. So make sure to use your F keys like that, and then you can use your mouse just to click the prayer. Go check out other guides, which I have linked in the description for the general overview of the Zulrah kill itself. But these are steps that I recommend you take before you try to DPS Zulrah, because I think that'll just make it so much easier for you to learn. I hope everyone has a wonderful day, and I hope everyone has a wonderful Zulrah kill.